MDOT presents the Extra Mile Podcast.
Welcome into another edition of the Extra Mile Podcast presented by the Mississippi Department of Transportation. I'm Paul Catul, and as always, joined by my co-host Will Kraft, and we are welcoming him back to the show. He is now a girl dad ×3, so congrats, Will.
Thank you very much. Prayers also welcome. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Sending a lot of prayers your way. And listen, we're excited to get the podcast back on the road. It's been a while, and we're at probably my favorite place in the state of Mississippi besides Jackson. We are in Oxford, Mississippi in City Hall, and we're here to speak with Oxford Mayor Robyn Tannehill. She was elected Oxford's 36th mayor in 2017, and the last time she was on the show was in October of 2022, which is pretty crazy.
I know.
Seems
Time
like
flies.
yesterday.
It does.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mayor, for welcoming us in and having us around.
Absolutely. Happy to visit with y'all and appreciate all that y'all are getting done at MDOT.
Of course, me and Will are we're out on the roads making
I know.
things
I saw
happen.
you out
so-
there in that asphalt truck this morning, I think,
That's
when I came
right.
into town.
you know it. Well, let's get to it. This is probably the most current event that's happening in Oxford. I guess it didn't happen in Oxford, but the Super Regionals. Ole Miss won, is advancing to Omaha.
Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy. And listen, there's a lot of success across athletics in Ole Miss, probably unprecedented in the modern era. So I know you're not over Ole Miss, but you're over Oxford. And so what kind of impact is that having, maybe even from an economic standpoint in the city?
No doubt. Well, winning teams help our economy enormously. I mean, we really cannot overestimate what winning teams do in every sport. I'm a huge Ole Miss baseball fan. So I had on my Judd Utermark jersey watching all the regional games. And, I just can't wait to watch them back in Omaha. We are thrilled. Football, obviously, because it brings a larger crowd, has an enormous economic impact, but so does baseball. So does a great basketball team. So does our softball team that has done so well. Our golf team, when they come back into town, everybody, floods to watch them. And it's we have Placer AI now, which is an AI platform that allows us to track the number of IP addresses in the city limits at any given time. A little big brothery, but that's just the way of the world. It also is so sophisticated that it can tell us your natural habitat. So we know that even if it's a Texas number, but this is their natural habitat, that's a student. So we know that we've got 28,000 full-time residents. We've got about 26,000 on campus. But any given Monday, we've got over 90,000 people in town.
Wow.
So we have over 40,000 people that come into Oxford every day to be the workforce for the university, for the city, for the school districts, for Winchester, North Mississippi Regional Center, that seek health care in Oxford, that come here for their shopping and quality of life events. And so that's just your regular old day. But on those Ole Miss football game weekends, we'll see over 300,000. So you can imagine the stress that puts on our infrastructure, not just roads, but water and sewer. And that's what keeps this nerdy mayor up at night is how do we flush the toilet for 300,000 people when we only have 28,000 taxpayers? Those are our challenges. But that's where we are. And the economic impact of football games is enormous. The one that we can specifically say this is about what it brought in, the championship game that we got to have last December. Comparing that December to the December prior, the only difference was that football game. We had the same holly jolly holidays, we had the same open houses, all of the things, and our sales tax was up about $100,000 from the year before. So most of the time we can't really determine. Which weekend did that money come in or come from, and if it's a ball game that's one of the last days of the month, we don't really know what month that fell in tax collections and those kinds of things. But that was really the ability for us to say, okay, this game generated $100,000 of sales tax. So, you'll hear us say, okay, this football game had a $52 million impact on our community. And I think some people don't really understand what that means. They think that we've got that money in a bucket somewhere, and why in the world aren't we spending it on roads? But that's the economic impact across the entire community. That's your gas stations, your hotels, your shops, your different retail establishments all over town, your companies that are setting up grove tents, your caterers. It's the people that bought a tank of gas on their way in and a way out. So that is all over our community, and that's what allows a town of 28,000 to have the amazing quality of life that we have in shops and restaurants.
That's amazing. Go sports.
That's
We
right.
Love
Let's
it.
keep winning.
I just want to throw out there, hit it again, I guess, 300,000 from 50, roughly. What you think, 26, 28 students, 26, 28.
Yeah.
So 50,000 and jump to 300, and even the 9. That's crazy.
It is.
It is really something to think about. And this is probably an ignorant thought here. I don't know how many other cities in the state have to deal with that kind of disparity, but I bet that does create
It's
some
a
issues.
huge challenge. Well, so for 6 to 10 days of the year, we're the biggest city in Mississippi.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I never realized it was quite that
Yeah.
of a disparity. Wow.
From coming up here as a season ticket holder, I kind of believe it.
You believe it?
It's jam packed. But listen, we'll move on from sports. But I do have one more question.
Yeah.
So the biggest college football game in the country at this point is going to happen on September 19th. LSU versus Ole Miss.
That's
Lane
right.
Kiffin, buddy, is coming back to town. So as the mayor of Oxford, are you doing anything? Is the city doing anything to scale up security? Or what's the plan there?
Yes. Well, we have a huge security presence for every football game. This one we will prepare the same for this one as we do for every other, because we take every one of those huge crowds very seriously. We have, over the past 5 years, just as different events have happened across the United States, we have tried to run through scenarios of, if that happens here, what is our plan? We do a ton of training. We have a very trained police force, and we've got probably the best police department and police chief in the nation. And I'm not exaggerating. They are phenomenal. And we have bought a lot of equipment. We've bought pitagons that allow us to block off roadways. One of the most dangerous weapons when you have huge groups of pedestrians is a moving vehicle. We've seen that across the country in different events in Austin, Texas, not too long ago. So how do we prevent that? Well, you make sure that where your pedestrians are, your cars are not. So we are finding ways to do that. We've also spent a lot of money on cameras. And we have a lot of cameras in the downtown area now, and that's not just to watch folks. We have somebody that's watching it all the time and can say, hey, there's looks like there's a fight about to break out in front of X. So sometimes we can get there before it happens, or it looks like there is a young lady walking home by herself, and that road's really dark. So we'll go and make sure she's getting home safe. Or, it just allows us to really be on top of things. If we identify someone, of course, you can identify from these cameras, the guy in the red shirt and the white cap, and we can find him pretty quickly on those cameras. But we also have a mounted patrol. And people say often, like, oh my goodness, that seems extravagant to have these horses that are, out all the time. But the horses are an amazing tool for us. They allow officers to be at a level sitting above everyone. We're kind of like those cameras. They're getting kind of the big overview. And when you need to move people, when you close the bars down and we push 15, 20,000 people out into the square at the same time, and they decide they don't really want to go home yet, it's amazing what they'll do when those horses come down the street.
Yeah, I can bet. Sure.
They scoot to their car pretty quick, like,
absolutely.
or to their Uber.
Some dogs out there.
We hope to
herding
their
people
Uber,
everywhere.
but yes,
That's impressive.
it is. So we've got a lot of different tools in our tool chest, but our goal is to keep everyone safe here anytime they're here, and September the 19th will be no different.
Certainly going to ramp up the fanfare, I'm sure, right?
Man. Well, it already has. I mean, all you got to do is look at the Twitter. Are you kidding?
It's out there.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's a pro at Twitter.
He is
I hope
that.
he's not quite as good at coaching at LSU as he was here.
Even as a Southern Miss graduate and fan, I'm fully supporting you guys in this one. Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Thank
for,
you so
all
much.
for the
We
Oxford.
need all the help we can get for that one.
We'll be
but
the same team
I
here.
hope we send him home with a big frown on his face.
Me too.
Cosign.
And stomach virus, but that's
Anything we
anything
can
else.
throw
yeah.
in there.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, look, to segue from that, talking about all the big events coming up, one of those that you just had, I believe, and I think I've heard that it was wildly successful, Double Decker, an annual event that, if I'm also not mistaken, you had a hand in originating.
I did. It's so crazy. This was our 29th double-decker.
29. Wow.
Next year will be our 30th. And if you add up the years, there are 2 that are missing, but those were COVID. So we're 29th instead of 31st. But yes, I was the director of tourism in 1994, 1,000 years ago, and could not imagine why we didn't have a festival in Oxford to celebrate what we do best, music, food, and art. And it's still what we do best. And now I get the joy of going to the festival now and of overseeing the budget. But we have a staff that plans double-decker, and they outdo themselves every year. Just when you think it can't get better, or how could we top that, they find a way, and they've got a lot of special plans for this 30th annual festival this next year. But it was interesting, as I said, the Placer AI that allows us to track how many people are in town for double-decker weekend. And we also had the Alabama SEC baseball series that weekend. We have M-Trade Park, that's where we have our youth baseball, softball, and soccer tournaments. And we had a baseball tournament in town that had over 100 teams as well that weekend, and then double-decker. And we exceeded the crowd count in town. It was above 2 of our home football games last year.
Wow.
I know, isn't that nuts?
It is nuts.
It is.
Y'all
it
just
is,
have
but-
everybody comes to Oxford. I'm telling you. It just
Well,
floods in.
we hope they keep coming. That's the
I'm
goal.
sure, right.
Come with your tank empty, so you have to fill it up.
I guess I'm continually blown away that the commuter level, again, that you guys have to deal with. It's something that I feel like is a bit different than some of the other places in the state. I don't know that.
Yeah,
It reminds me of
I thi-
Hattiesburg in some ways.
I think college towns, we can all relate with that, population swell. But other than college towns, it'd probably be hard pressed to find another Mississippi town that's dealing with it.
It's a lot of folks.
It's a lot of folks.
And again, all the marks to Paul here. He talks so highly about Oxford, and the biggest fan again out there, but was very complimentary of double decker this year, especially, and said it was
Well,
was
thank
awesome.
you. I think they outdid themselves for sure.
No doubt.
Any other major big events outside of the box stuff coming up? I know we sort of talked about the USA 250 coming up in about a month here.
That's
but,
right.
Anything else that you
Right,
guys
and
working
we'll
on?
have a 4th of July parade that morning, and then we'll have fireworks out at M-Trade Park that evening. During the spring and summer months, we have what we call Third Thursdays, and we have this pocket park next to City Hall, and we have free entertainment in the park on the third Thursday of every month. And this is the best time to come, honestly. A lot of the students stay, but a lot of them have gone home. So it's, you can actually get a parking spot. It's just
A little
amazing.
quieter, maybe,
A
a
little
little more spread
quieter.
out.
You might be able to get in a restaurant without having to wait a minute. So this is the perfect time to actually come and go to Roanoke and walk around the historic downtown area and just get a feel for what Oxford's all about.
Absolutely. You heard it here first, folks.
That's right.
Sold. Hey, listen, so I mentioned 2022 is when we were here, and this was kind of, getting pushed through.
Yeah.
But Highway 7 widening is happening.
Oh,
we drove
praise the
by,
Lord.
and it looks really cool. There's some, bridge structures going up.
yeah.
Honestly, really cool to look at. So just talk about that, kind of why it's needed. Talk about the progress.
Absolutely. Well, Highway 7 is a project that has needed to be done for many moons. It's a project that we've lobbied for at the state level for about 20 years. And so we were so relieved when several years ago they appropriated $175 million for this project specifically. I think part of the reason Senator Nicole Boyd and I invited Lieutenant Governor Hoseman to town, and we took him down to North Mississippi Regional Center on Highway 7 at 4:45 in the afternoon and made him stand and literally watch. We're like, this is what we're talking about right here. And I may or may not have gotten some city vehicles to squeal your tires and honk at people,
Absolutely.
But anyway, you got to use what you got, right? So we were so thrilled that they appropriated that money. And as you saw today, man, they are moving. They have said that there will be over a dozen bridges, 20-plus box culverts. There will be over 2 million cubic yards of dirt moved. That's about 120,000 dump truck loads. And I'm so familiar with a cubic yard now because of debris.
Yes.
They first started talking to me about
Unfortunately.
cubic yards of debris, and I was like, I'm an art major, guys. I'm going to need a visual. So they were like, well, it's like a dishwasher. And I was like, okay, well, how many dishwashers do we have? And they were like 70,000 dump truck loads.
Wow.
And so I said, I need a visual, though, all the debris together. And they were like, give us a day. They came back and they were like, got it. If we filled up Vaught Hemingway with just the debris from within the city limits, it would go up between 600 and 700 feet.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
It was a tornado on every street in town.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess
pictures don't do it justice. It has been amazing. So anyway, 120,000 dump truck loads of dirt. Holy moly. So in April, the contractor completed $8.9 million worth of work. So they are moving.
Yes.
They are putting the pilings in for bridges now. They've built, I think, 5 box culverts so far, and they're working on another huge one. It is, the contractor's doing a great job, and we are so thankful to MDOT that this project is happening. It's a game changer. It's going to save people's lives. I mean, people died on that roadway so often. I mean, the accidents were, so many accidents, but they were also severe injury accidents and deaths. So we are so thrilled that our community will be safer as a result of this project.
No doubt.
Teamwork.
And I've
right.
add second to that. I know you're serious and genuine. You guys have been working on this for a long time, so very proud for you. Obviously, and being MDOT, yeah, we're excited to get that
Absolutely.
work going. The other projects we won't mention too many specifically, but just we've got to give a shout out here to roundabouts.
Absolutely.
We come to Oxford just to see all the new latest and greatest roundabouts.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, we keep them coming.
We love it.
We keep them coming. We just finished, I guess, one more at Molly Bar Road and Highway 30. So that makes 4 on that street. Now, well, no, 5 because there's one at Chickasaw too. But we just, we love a roundabout in Oxford. They're perfect for our traffic. Traffic that just gets busy at certain times of the day. You know, I mean, it keeps traffic moving. It's safer. We've eliminated all those accidents in those intersections from people running a red light and getting T-boned. You know, if there is an accident in a roundabout, it's fender bender.
That's right.
And it's just so much safer and moves traffic so much more quickly. So people are intimidated by them, I think, at first, especially the double lane ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of really throws people. You can get behind people, you know, with a Holly Springs tag, and they're going to go around that same thing 5 times before they shoot off on the right direction. But, you know, I figure they learn. But they are wonderful. And 2 that MDOT just helped us complete, they just finished striping them about 2 weeks ago, is at University Avenue and Highway 7. That was another one of our biggest transportation improvement priorities. Huge number of wrecks. Taking a left there off of 7, going either direction was so dangerous. And the roundabouts they've saved the day. At that intersection where Highway 7 meets University Avenue, the traffic count is higher every day than it is at I-55 and Highway 6 in Batesville.
Wow.
So I know it's nuts.
That is a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, and those roundabouts just make it so much safer and move traffic more quickly. So, you know, people whined and complained the whole time construction was going on, but, you know, isn't that what we do? We want it, and then we just want it to happen quick, and, you know, we don't have a magic wand. These things take minutes. So people are now finally like, okay, it was worth it. So we are so appreciative.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I appreciate all those comments. We would agree. We certainly understand. It's new. It's a little different in certain spots and spaces. But we're big believers. We don't think that they work everywhere. You know?
They don't.
Just because it exists, we're not going to slap one out there. But yes, and give it a chance. Give it a little time. Follow the arrows.
Right.
Shout out to my Simpson County family and folks down there. It's going to be okay. I promise. We're going to get it. We're going to do it together.
I saw they were building one in Philadelphia, Mississippi, too, when I went to the
they're popping
fairgrounds
up.
this weekend. So,
Sure enough.
yeah.
Roundabouts are lovely, for sure.
Yes, they are.
So we'll get our notebooks out. You mentioned some really good projects. Any future needs, transportation infrastructure in general?
Always. In a town that's growing like ours, we've grown 102% since 2000.
Wow.
In 2024, they projected that we would grow 24% by 2030, but we've already grown 12% this year. So we've got over 10,000 bedrooms under construction right now. Now that's not 10,000 separate units, that's bedrooms, but when we talk about units, it's about 6,700 units, but some of those units are apartment buildings and some of those units are single family homes. So, you know, we always look at it as bedrooms, and, you know, that's that many more cars that will be on the road.
No
So there are always infrastructure projects that we're working on. We've applied for some federal grants for Jackson Avenue, which is our basically Oxford corridor, east and west. I'm not sure how to fix it other than stick a dynamite, honestly, but since that's not an option, we're going to go with Plan B. And there's some very dangerous intersections there that need to be reworked, and we'd like to remove that, you know, we call it the suicide lane down the middle. If you take a left out of Cookout Out or Chick-fil-A. Like, come on,
Yeah.
what's wrong with you, really? So we would correct some of those things, and it would be a right out only. And then there would be some places to make a J-turn, some intersections that we'd rework. And so we've applied for federal dollars, $35 million for that project that we are very hopeful that we make some progress on this year. Wicker has included it in the THUD bill for now, so we are hopeful. We have another project with MDOT that is in the environmental phase right now. It will be connecting University Avenue right past Kroger into Oxford Commons, which is where our conference center is, and 5 hotels, our high school and elementary school, and a huge neighborhood, and also some student housing as well. And that will be a game changer, just to have another north-south corridor.
Right.
And allowing people to have another way in and out of Oxford Commons rather than everyone having to get on Highway 7.
That's right.
So that's a project that has been funded between the state and our federal partners, and we hope that next year we'll be able to construct that road. Highway 7 to the 7-9 split is a huge, huge plus for us, but going the opposite direction towards Holly Springs is also needed.
Sure.
And I know that MDOT is aware of that. It's we don't have a money whip. That's what we all need. So I think that, from a state highway perspective, being able to pick up that 4-lane project and head north with it would be one of our most critical needs.
Love that. And I guess it goes without being said, but let's make sure we do say it. None of this would happen without the support from our state legislature. We have certainly
Absolutely.
seen that engagement and support pick up over the last several years. Not that it wasn't in existence or wasn't strong enough before, maybe, but it's been really great. Even in my, I think, 7 years at MDOT, the support has just really been awesome. And
It has
we
been.
do see a lot of work going on.
We are blessed to have representatives and a lieutenant governor and a speaker that are so supportive.
That's right.
Of pushing the needle so that we can make a difference. I mean, infrastructure needs, are just, they're in a town in Mississippi that doesn't have some infrastructure needs, and I'm just glad to see they're addressing it.
Well, and to steal a quote from our director, Brad White, that I've never done before, but to steal one of his quotes.
He has good ones.
I know he
does.
does. It doesn't really matter how good your hospital is if you can't get there. It doesn't matter how good your schools are if you can't get across the bridge to get there.
That's exactly right.
It is definitely a priority.
Well, people ask me all the time, I wish you'd just build more parks. Why don't you do this or that? I was like, it doesn't matter how good your parks are if you can't flush your toilet.
That's it.
We spent $15 million on water and sewer upgrades, so tell Brad I agree.
Absolutely. No doubt about that one.
Shout out MS Leg, doing good work over there. Hey, listen, so never thought I'd hate the word fern as much as I do now. It's weird to think that was in February. It feels like a million years ago, but how's Oxford doing with the storm recovery?
We are doing great, and thank you for asking. We have finished up our major debris removal, finally, after about 75,000 dump truck loads of debris. We have finished up. Now, people are still putting rubbish by the road and limbs that are falling and that kind of thing, but the major tree removal that we had to hire a company to do for us is finished. We've spent about $18 million so far, and so, that's not something a small town budget's for. So we are really in a pinch in moving forward with a lot of the necessary infrastructure projects that we had planned for the coming years, water and sewer projects and road projects that we had planned to fund, are on hold right now. I'll say that MEMA and FEMA are doing a great job of getting the refunds back to us, the reimbursements back in a much more timely fashion than I've understood has happened in the past with several communities across the state that have had tornadoes and things. When they shared their horror stories on getting reimbursed, I was like, oh, what will we do? But, it is slow, but it's steady. And even these trees that look pitiful with a few leaves look better. Once the grass starts turning green and the buttercups come up and trees start getting some leaves, it kind of changes everybody's attitude. And, we saw the best of our community during that storm. Of course, the debris was terrible. As I said, it was like a tornado went down every street. But the amount of community spirit and community pride and people stepping up to take care of their neighbors and to serve people in their time of greatest need was just amazing. And my prayer for my community is that it stays that way. Sure. That we're able to maintain that level of community spirit and community support for folks that need it. It really opened our eyes to some blind spots and some places that really need our attention. And so a lot of good came out of it too. I don't want to do it again.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
a lot of good. Somebody said the other day, well, now you'll know exactly what to do. If there's another natural disaster, I said, I sure will. I'll get impeached immediately.
Just get out before it starts.
Immediately.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Run for the hills.
Nothing like unprecedented events.
That's
I
right.
think we've
I
all had our
know.
fair share in the last
Well,
couple
I mean,
of
I've
years.
had a pandemic and a natural disaster. I'm like, what is happening? And my husband's like, and you signed up for this.
Can't wait to see
Like,
what's
you
next.
asked people to let you do this job. I
It's
know.
wild. Well, you do a really tremendous job. I think it's an understatement to say that Oxford's thriving under the leadership of Mayor Tannehill. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you. I always enjoy visiting with y'all, and go back and tell Brad White and the rest of that MDOT crew how much we appreciate them.
Sure will.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead and wrap things up there. Thank you to our viewers, our listeners, for tuning in to the Extra Mile podcast. You can watch and listen to episodes by visiting gomdot.com/the extra mile. Follow us on social media at Mississippi DOT is the handle. We want to thank our editor, producer, Mississippi State Bulldog, Drew Hall, behind the scenes there. Remember to drive smart out there on Mississippi highways.